How much do the competitive things develop here in the spring with these guys getting out here and banging on each other?
Definitely competitive. Obviously, it's a team game, and we want both sides to do extremely well. But when you get between the white lines, man, it's offense versus defense. Guys out here competing. You saw today it kind of got chippy out there. Coach Lee made the point about, to the edge but never over.
Right.
But we're out here competing and having fun, and that's football, and that's what these guys love to do. This is what us as coaches love to do, is come out here and compete. So it's been really, really fun.
Is this also a chance just to learn how to practice, especially for some of the younger guys?
Yes, sir. I think our older guys know how to practice this coming off of last season, been able to build the standards and have expectations, and now those older guys got to take some leadership and bring the young guys along, and they've been doing that. With the 8 mid-years coming in, kind of getting their feet wet and learning, but it's been really good, and we're fired up about that.
How much does it help the offense to have some continuity from last year to this year?
Yes, sir. It's helped us a ton. We got a lot of guys who played last year for us that got experience. Right now, which is really, really good. Anytime you get experience, with the experience comes some leadership, comes some confidence, and I think right now as an offense we have that.
How do you size up your room at this point this spring?
Right now I'm very excited about the room. Last year at this time we only had 2 guys out here in spring. Right now we have 5, actually we have 6, and it's been great. It's healthy competition, as we just mentioned before, and I see these guys being a bell cow for us. I think we got a really good group, a strong group, a competitive group, and a group that's experienced that should be able to help us this fall.
Who's Patrick Smith compared to, say, where you left off at the end of last season?
I think he's doing really well, doing extremely well. I think transitioning from high school to college was easy for him from a mental standpoint, and then he has the physical capabilities to be really good in the backfield. So where he is now compared to the end of the year, I think he's grown a ton. He's grown even more mentally and also physically, and doing really well for us.
Where's Maurice Edwards? I know it's different as a running back because when you're that level of player in high school, you're probably not asked to pass protect and things that you have to do.
Right.
But he's a fast kid. That's something you need, is some speed.
Yes, sir.
How is he in terms of coming along at this point? Because he's obviously just been on campus a couple of times.
Right. I think he's doing well with the transition from high school to college. Like you mentioned, in high school, he may just get the ball and he's reading certain things, but he's just running. He's faster than the opponent, like you mentioned. Making that transition in terms of knowing where you fit in on pass plays, in terms of conceptually, also knowing where you fit in and pass pro and picking up the guy. And to be honest with you, he's been doing fairly decent with that. We had a ton of competition this spring, one-on-one with the linebackers and pass pro, and he's been using technique. He's been physical, hasn't shied away from contact. That's the first thing you wonder, a kid coming from high school, will he shy away from contact or will he put his face in there? And been doing a really good job with that. So right now, up to this point, practice number 7, we're very pleased.
You're going to have a pretty green offensive line. Does that put more of a burden on your guys to pass protect than it normally would?
Oh, I would say no. Even though they may be green, we got unbelievable coaching, Coach Blas, who's coaching them and teaching them. Everything's about communication. So the quarterback's going to communicate, the offensive lineman's going to communicate, as well as the running back, and we're all in that thing together. We're all one chain link that's together, and it's all about technique, and it's all about what you got in your neck in terms of toughness and going out there and executing it and using your fundamentals to be successful.
Pretty young bunch. You don't have the numbers you probably would like to have, which is not always unusual for spring practice. With all that taken into consideration, how do you feel about where your group is?
I tell you what, I've had honestly a blast. I mean, our Saturday scrimmage might have been one of the cleaner practices we've had in my year and a half. But we're young, we're really young, and it's fun because their eagerness to come out every day. I don't think they really know what tired's supposed to feel like. I don't think they know what an end of spring ball feels like. So they're just hungry every day to come. Okay, what am I learning today? And our one-on-one meetings or our stuff when they stop in and ask questions, they're digging it. It's they're all panicking to stay up, which is really good. Sometimes you get older guys in spring ball, and it's here we go. I know it, coach. And so it's been really fun to coach those guys. They're humming right now.
You're not going to be very experienced at left tackle. How do you feel about the couple of guys that have been manning that position for you this spring?
Well, I think the young guys that have played it this spring have done awesome, and to pick it up, I think the assignments are sometimes easier on the outside. You got to see a little bit more than the inside, understanding how much leverage and angles are part of it. But it's been good cross training for Pitch and for Gunner and the guys that have slid out there and played. And you got the high school early enrollees. Siegel stepped in and really helped us feel he's getting a lot more reps than most high school early enrollees, which he's taken at 100 miles an hour. But we got a couple of our injured guys that'll be back, and then that's they know the guys in the room know we're going to try and add a couple also.
You went through a lot last August when you're switching coordinator in the middle of fall camp. Sometimes a new coordinator comes in, has different expectations, has different implications for your guys. And how has that change affected your group, and maybe what's different now that you've had a few months to use to that?
Well, I think, and what's funny is, David, Joey, and those guys, they both kind of have the same expectations in what they see in the offensive line, and it's interesting just the evolution of both their careers and what they expect up front and what they like. It's my background, so it's been really an easy transition for us. It's been a smooth deal, whether it was back in spring ball, over the summer, into the fall camp, through fall season. It was really, in our room, pretty unnoticeable.
You talk about those early enrollees. What's the biggest eye-opener usually for those guys?
I think how fast the game is, and then how much goes on the rest of the day. That football, where we have the whole morning is built around it. In high school, it's usually an hour and a half of spring, like walkthroughs, and maybe a little bit of practice where it gets physical at times. But it's the amount of time put into football at this level. What really a 20-hour week means, what an 8-hour week means outside of spring ball that's committed just to football. And then they still got to get their studies. And the hardest one, anywhere you go in college, the semester's tough because they don't have that onboarding like they do with summer prep.
How much is it, too, about just guys learning how to practice at this level?
It's usually a lot. I've been really impressed with this crew of kids. The guys that early enroll, they love ball.
Yeah.
I mean, they know what they're getting into. Otherwise, it's not a great mix. But so the guys that have come, and it's added some chippiness, and they've added some. There's just a little confidence there that's good for us right now in how we practice.
What is grease?
Well, grease is what I think of when you see a guy who's been under a car for 8 hours and changing engines, or you see a guy come out of a coal mine that, they got that work all over their face, a little bit of a hard hat, lunchbox mentality. And, I know there's not a lot of engines that can run if they're not greased up and the oil is not fresh. So really, hopefully, we're the group that can provide some consistency here and, get things going every day on a daily basis or week-to-week game basis.
How important is it for you to have Julian? Because he's your center, he's been around, you need experience there. He's seen a lot in the SEC. How much of a luxury is that for you compared to just some past years before you had more center?
Yeah, I think it's a huge piece in a couple of fronts. Last year was really his first year as a bona fide starter, playing at that position. People forget in fall camp, I had him with the threes. I wanted to kind of see what Warden and Kevo would do because they'd not been put in the spotlight, and he just kind of went about his business. And so, Wardo gets hurt, he goes in, and it's untouched from there. And then Ernie and I have kind of built a relationship, and we have a lot in common. We were the guy, you're undersized, not a lot of people wanted you. He's got a chip on his shoulder, and he's a really smart football player. So he's taken that leadership role for us of consistency. And man, you've seen his game, Ashmore's game, even Castillo, but those two older guys have taken a huge step of confidence in the offseason. It's the first time in a long time they've done the same thing for 2 years. Spring ball's the same drills, the schemes are the same, the calls are the same, and I think that changes the guy's confidence, that consistency.
Tight ends seem to have a big place in this offense. How excited is that making you?
Yeah, obviously really excited. I think that we have a really strong room, really from the first guy to the fourth guy. And so I think the whole goal over spring has been how well can we play to put as many of us on the field as possible within a play. And you guys watching practice have seen like we're pretty versatile and all over the place. So the more tight ends on the field, the better.
Yeah, it seems like there's a chance for you and Ben to play at the same time potentially. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's something we've talked about for a while, honestly, since we got recruited. And like I said, it's just kind of been be so good they can't ignore you type of attitude. And I feel like this spring more than ever we've really adopted that.
For this offense, from year one to year two, how much progress have you guys made?
It's night and day. And I was telling Coach Stig and a couple other coaches, it's just so refreshing. Like I'm going into my 5th year, and this is the first spring I haven't had to learn a new offense. Yeah. And as much as cliche that may be or whatever, it matters. And look, football, everybody kind of runs the same stuff, but you're talking terminology and exact rules and specific technique that's unique to the coaches. It makes a world of a difference. I just reflect on where we were at this time last year to now, and it's a completely different team, so it's really encouraging.
Yeah, how much do those competitive things develop during the spring? We're talking about that with Julian.
I'm sorry, say it again?
How much do the competition and competitiveness develop in the spring?
Yeah, it's a lot. Obviously, Coach Lee's all about compete, and whether that's through our off-season SWAT team program or whatever it may be, everything's about competing. So I really think that stuff is kind of born in the winter workouts when there's snow or there's ice all over the field and we're pulling ropes or sleds or whatever it may be, and you're going to beat a guy. And so that's something I feel like we've really developed really since in Coach Lee's tenure is competing right to the edge but never over, because obviously you don't want to shoot yourselves in the foot.
Is it fair to say that maybe the reads in the offense, I know you're not the quarterback, but you've been around a long time, a little easier, maybe a little quicker?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, playing quarterback in high school, sometimes I still see the game from that viewpoint. And as a tight end also, we probably have to know just as much as they do, really. So I would say, yeah, but I also think that each guy is just a little bit better. And obviously Swan coming in can absolutely rip it. I remember even just coming out here in like winter and throwing routes on air or whatever it may be. I mean, he made some throws so you're kind of like, whoa. But obviously Mike has some time under his belt, and Ken is consistently good and always has been. So yeah, I think the game's also slowing down for them. And like I said, it's another year and another understanding of what Lynch wants and what that read may be on a specific play.
New year, new system. What's different? I can't really say from an offensive standpoint that there's a lot of difference. I will say something different is that in my 3 years here, I've had 3 different offensive line coaches, so I've had to kind of scrap, renew a bunch of new information, new technique, and with having an offensive line coach here for 2 years and having to run the same offensive scheme, I can see our young guys are starting to develop a little bit better. We're starting to get into a rhythm a lot better. Just having the same information, just refreshing it in the mind, it allows the muscles to kind of get into that muscle memory stage where we're kind of just flowing into it. I think as an offense, we're running more efficiently now, running the rock better. Guys are knowing what to do a lot more efficiently. Yeah, I just think as a whole, like, our offense is just getting better every single day.
How much do those competitive things develop in the spring, with your teammates?
There's a lot of competition. It's just like wanting to get better, like you're gonna go hard so the other person gets better, and sometimes we get fed up with each other because maybe you're not having so great of a day and you just get hit over and over again and you snap. And I mean, competition is just like natural. Like it's not a bad thing. It's honestly a really good thing. I don't know. I think just going hard every day and like just letting the other dude know that like, hey, like if you're not on your stuff today, like we're gonna be after you. So just make sure you bring your A game today.
You're one of the older guys. You're also there's a lot of responsibility to being both of those. How do you feel about that?
Honestly, I really just feel like a normal guy. I mean, I don't really feel like there's too much extra responsibility on my part. Like, I've always been the kind of dude to kind of like get around my buddies and have a good time and make sure everyone feels involved. So like I feel like as a center, that kind of just is inherent with my personality, which I mean, being the oldest guy like I am, like right now in my room, I'm the last in my recruiting class to like still be in the room. So I've had to like take a step back and realize like the impact that's had on like my development. But I don't know, I've always been the kind of guy to just be cool with everyone. So being like that kind of dude to mold everybody together as like what a center should, I feel like it's just been a part of me as a person and me as a football player.